Hello, grade 9s. Welcome back to math. If you can please make sure you get out a calculator, a whiteboard, and a whiteboard marker. Take a look at the learning target. When you're all ready, come on back. Press pause in the meantime. So in order to do this, we need to know how many kilograms make a pound, or the other way around. So we go online, we go to a trusted source, and that's the conversion. What we're going to do is solve this proportionally. Let's say I put the units of kilograms on the top of the rate and pounds on the bottom. And it doesn't matter which order you put it in. So using what Google gave us, we know that's got to be proportional to what we're finding. Notice that kilograms are in the top of the rate and pounds are in the bottom of the rate. So one way to get the answer, and let me tell you that there are many ways that we can solve this. You just got to pick the way that makes most sense to you. So one way to do it is to realize what times 1 kilogram is 4.2 kilograms. And then you got to repeat that for both bottom terms of the rate. And then that will tell you how many pounds make up 4.2 kilograms. If we round to the nearest tenth of a pound, the 25 is closer to 30, so 9.3 pounds. What I want you to do is make sure that you also get the calculation of 9.259404 pounds. So do that on your calculator, press pause in the meantime, and then come on back. Let's say you're going to take a trip overseas to Europe. In Europe, they don't use the Canadian dollar, they use the euro. And let's say we've only got 500 Canadian cash, and we need to determine, well, how many euros that makes up. So what we do is we go to a trusted source online, such as Google, and we see today's exchange rate. So when I set up the rate, I can do either Canadian dollars to euros, or as you see in the rate that I have there, euros to Canadian dollars. So using what Google told us, 1 euro is $1.57 Canadian. So we want to make this an equivalent rate. So in the rate that I'm going to create here, I'm going to make sure euros is on the top and $500 is on the bottom. Again, many ways to solve this. You just got to pick the method that makes the most sense to you. But on a test, you need to be able to explain your thinking. And so you should write down what you are doing in order to come up with the answer, which would likely mean going to the calculator. So whatever you're going to put into the calculator, I'd like you to see you do it on your whiteboard and on a test. So one way to do it is to realize, well, to go from $500 Canadian to $1.50 Canadian, that means we're scaling down, so we're dividing, and it turns out that's what we're dividing by. In order to figure out why it's 318.47, on your calculator right now, go 500 divided by 1.57. Press pause and come on back. So that means that $500 divided by $318.47 gives us $1.57. And what I have to do is the same thing to the top terms. The number of euros divided by 318.47 will give 1 euro. Well, obviously, that number is itself, because 318.47 divided by 318.47 is 1. So that's how many euros would make up $500 Canadian. Now, a couple things here. It's important for you to obviously know how to do a conversion like this, because when you go get your money exchanged, you don't want to get ripped off. And you want to be able to do the math so that you know you're not getting ripped off. Let's try this a different way. So it's the same question. But if you didn't like that method, again, there's many ways to solve this. Because we have a proportion, we know that 1 times a number gives 1.57, and that's obviously 1.57. So what we do is we go to the other rate, and we do the same thing. So something times 1.57 is 500. In other words, 500 divided by 1.57 is what we're looking for. And we get 318.47. So go to your calculator, do 500 divided by 1.57, press pause, come on back. So if we went to get $500 exchanged, we would get $318.40 in euros. Although I don't know if they call them cents. That's something you can look up if you're interested. When you go do the exchange, if you're going to a currency conversion place or a bank, they likely won't give you the fractional amount. They would just round it to the nearest dollar. So they'd either give you 318 or 319. If you're planning on doing just the mild and medium questions, or mild or medium questions to start today, why don't you go work on that right now? It's posted in the PDF in our Google Classroom. Get working on those. If you're interested in doing the hot questions as well, or if you may want to just try some of the hot questions, and stick around here for the final example. Let's say we're trying to figure out how many square meters are in 12 square yards. Well, there is a way to convert it using trusted online sources. But on the test, I will only give you the linear measurements. So on a test, I would only tell you how many yards make up a meter, or the other way around. For square units, you'll have to be able to do the thinking and show me that on a test. So suppose we do have a square, and using the Google translation, or conversion rather, of 1 yard to a meter, if we have 1 square yard, that's what you see in the diagram. That's the same thing as saying this many meters by this many meters to make a square. Go to your calculator right now and multiply those together. So a square yard is 0.836 square meters approximately. So using that conversion, put that in a rate and make it into a proportion. We're trying to figure out how many square meters are in 12 square yards. So yards will be the square units in the top. Sorry, square yards will be the units, square units in the top, and square meters in the bottom. Notice one way to do it is to go 1 times something is 12, and that's obviously 12. So if you take the 0.836 square meters, times it by 12, you will get roughly 10.03 square meters. And that's what we were looking for. Try that out on your calculator. Okay, questions are posted for today's practice in the Google Classroom stream.